Cook joins us now from Bell Direct. Jeremy, thanks for joining us. We saw another day of good gains for the share market. What do you see as being the main drivers of the session today?
Good afternoon, Nadine. Yeah, well, we had a pretty good lead from Wall Street overnight with the fourth consecutive session of gains over there. We saw gains across the board on the local market today, with the All Ords finishing up around about 46 points, or around 1%. Rio and BHP, they led the way. Rio was up around 1.2%. BHP was up 0.8% after news that Shenzi oil field in the Gulf of Mexico was exceeding production expectations, producing around 120,000 barrels of oil per day, around about 20% higher than expected. We've seen the gold price unable to sustain its momentum above the $1,000 an ounce mark, and not surprisingly, the gold plays came under a bit of pressure today. We saw Newcrest down 2%, Lihir Gold was down about 3.2%. We saw Paladin come out of its trading halt today after announcing it was intending to raise around about $420 million through the issue of shares at a price of $4.60. Did have some support with RBS coming out upgrading its price target, but that wasn't enough to stop Paladin's share price dropping from around 3.1% today. Westpac had a pretty good day. It was up 0.5% after announcing it was going to purchase the remaining 50% stake of Ascalon Capital Managers that it hadn't owned, or it doesn't own. Other banks across the board were also higher, led by Commonwealth, which finished the day up about 1.4%. Woolworths announced that it was in the process of appointing staff to its joint venture with Lowe's, including the hiring of its former Canadian president. Its shares were slightly higher on the day. Retail stocks across the board did perform quite well, led by David Jones and Harvey Norman, which were both up around 4%. We saw carsales.com, it debuted on the local market today with shares issued at $3.50 a share. It closed the day up 49 cents at $3.99 a share. So some pretty good signs there that investors are keen to get into IPOs. We saw Ansell, their share price dropped around 2.4% today after news that their chief executive intended to retire next year after 5 years at the helm. We had the federal court okaying Canada's Viterra company, their approval. They received approval to take over ABB Grain. ABB's shares were up around about 1.2% today. Qantas also had a very good day today. It was up around 4.3% after Boeing announced overnight they expected the Asia Pacific region to be one of the best performing markets over the next 20 years, with Qantas having plans to expand in that area. It looks well placed. Virgin Blue also having a good day, up around 8.5%. At the moment, the Dow futures looking like posting gains of around about 33 points. We've got some the latest employment figures coming out of the US in their session overnight, so hopefully we can get some better than expected results and have a good lead for the last day of trading for the local market this week.
Wow, and on top of all of that, we did see the release of the latest employment figures. We saw the market pull back just slightly after they were released. What did you make of them in the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, look, I guess with the news coming out of the ABS, the unemployment rate was steady at 5.8%. Sounded good. I guess that was what we expected. Unfortunately, there was around about 27,100 jobs lost out of that. The expectations was for a loss of around about 15,000. I guess the reason for the unemployment rate remaining the same was that the participation rate slightly dropped by around about 0.3%. I guess the main area of concern would be the loss of around about 31,000 full-time jobs, which was almost double the number of job losses from last month. And I guess when you put that together with the disappointing retail sales and the home loan figures that or housing finance figures that we saw yesterday, I guess all indications are that the RBA probably won't make too much of a move with the cash rate when they meet next month.
And what about the Aussie dollar? How's that been trading today? We have seen it sort of pull back after those unemployment figures. Yeah,
the Aussie dollar opened higher. It was around about 86.26 cents US opening up today. Reached a high of 86.4 cents on the back of the positive sentiment coming out of the US overnight. As you mentioned, we did have obviously the employment figures coming out today. After that, no big surprise to see the Aussie dollar come under a bit of pressure, falling below the 86 cent mark down to a low of around 85.8 cents US. Has bounced back a little bit since then. Recent trading around about the 86.05 cent US mark. I guess going forward, obviously it's a bit disappointing to see those unemployment figures, and I guess the chances of an interest rate differential widening between us and the US has been reduced. But I still think the Aussie economy is still in a pretty good position compared to its peers around the globe, and I still expect the local economy to be one of the first to increase its rates. So as long as positive sentiment remains around the place, I think we expect to see the Aussie dollar continuing to track higher, and I guess investors will be looking to see what comes out of the RBA minutes next week to confirm this sentiment.
Jeremy, great wrap this afternoon. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Nadine.
That's Jeremy Cook from Bell Direct.